welcome back to our Christmas Eve Black Robe podcast. I hope you all are staying safe and warm out there. Again, my name is Anzhane Slaughter, and I am here with Miss Carol
Carol
Mitchell.
Mitchell here. Happy Christmas Eve and soon to be Christmas Day, and Kwanzaa is coming up after that. We're going to talk about a little bit of all of that, right?
We sure are, and we have a very special guest on today's episode. He is a Tacoma native, a young Black doctor. Okay, and he's married with a beautiful family. I mean, he needs to write a book for the blueprint for these Black men out here.
Oh,
So
is there a blueprint for Black manhood?
I don't
Is
know.
there
I mean,
such a
maybe
thing?
he doesn't have it, but maybe he'd have some tips. I mean, seems like he's doing pretty well. But all jokes aside, before we really dive in, we want to talk about how important it is to celebrate our traditions, our culture, right? This is the Black Robe podcast. We are Black every week on Thursday, right? At 6 o'clock.
That's right. Monday through Sunday, every day that I wake up. But on Thursday nights, we really try to share our Black perspective with the community.
Yes. And so Kwanzaa is something that's very real in the Black community. I mean, I remember, growing up and it just being a tradition everywhere from about Christmas time to New Year's, and over the years, though, I feel like it's kind of died down, or at least we don't hear about it too much. And so I think that's why it's so important for us to just talk a little bit about it today. Carol, tell us a little something about Kwanzaa.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to know that it was founded by Dr. Maulana Karenga in the mid 1960s. And Kwanzaa is symbolic of the first fruits of the harvest. And so it is a Black African American cultural holiday that's fashioned after traditions in other parts of the African continent. So I would say it's sort of a melding, a blending of lots of different African cultural traditions. And it was one way that people of African descent could reclaim their origin point. As you know, the interruption of that cultural connection that happened through slavery and the Middle Passage makes it really difficult for those of us of African descent to pinpoint exactly where on the African continent we originated. And so Kwanzaa is an opportunity for us to have a cultural experience that's reminiscent of that African origin. It is based on principles that I think are largely universal. It's called the Nguzo Saba, and these are the seven principles of Kwanzaa. Anyone can Google Kwanzaa and Nguzo Saba and find all of this information for themselves. But on December 26th, you have to have your kinara, which is the candle lighting. There are seven candles, with the center candle being black, three red to the left, three green to the right, and those colors are, of course, the colors of the IBJ.
And,
That's right.
Yes, and Marcus Garvey.
Yes. Okay. So tell us, what are those colors symbolizing? Let's see if you can remember.
Oh, I know.
This is a test. What do you think the black is for?
Black is for the color of our skin. It's for Black, our melanin pigmented skin. Green, I want to say, is it wealth? Is this or
it's economics, but it's also symbolic of growth and symbolic of fruitfulness. And what about red?
I want to say blood.
You got it.
See, I just need some confidence.
Right. Red, black, and green. The red being the bloodline, the linkage back to Africa, but also about legacy. So there is a backwards uh, flow of the blood that links you back to the African continent. And then beginning with you, that cultural origin flows forward through your children, your
Wow.
grandchildren into the future.
Wow.
It's quite beautiful, isn't it?
So beautiful. It's so beautiful, especially when, a lot of young black people, they might only know their history to begin as at slavery, right? And to begin here in this country, but they, might not really know or understand the connections and how we are connected, although you know, disconnected over the years, but this is Kwanzaa is what connects us back to our roots. We're way more than slaves. I love that.
Yeah,
So beautiful.
it's an African American reinvention of,
Hmm.
I would say, mostly West African traditions.
Wasn't it like Kenya? Wasn't Did Kwanzaa kind of come from the Swahili language? I know the principles, right? I mean, I got a little bits and pieces. Okay.
Very good, very good. Yeah, and um, you oftentimes will see these principles. Some African American people use them in the names of their children. So, for example, Imani, which
Hmm.
a famous actress, Iman, that name translates as faith. My granddaughter's name, Nia, which
Hmm.
translates as purpose. And
Hmm.
so there, all of the principles have a name attached to them. And each night of Kwanzaa, you are celebrating one of those principles. And so everything has to be made by hand. So this is the difference between the
Wow.
commercialism of Christmas. Of course, Christmas is a holy time as well, and Hanukkah, which I think is just finishing or just finished, is also a holy time. But Kwanzaa is more about cultural celebration, and you cannot purchase any gift that you give during that 7 day period. You have to create it, and it has to be something original. So,
Mm,
a food or a piece of art or a song, something that you have created out of your own gifting. And
I love it.
we're going to talk about how John Gaines has leveraged his gift and the
Hmm.
purpose for which he was born and
Hmm.
created a high value life that is going to enrich both his children and his community. I'm looking forward to talking with him and hearing
I,
his crystal stair story.
yes, me too. Me too. But first, I want to challenge all the families, all the black families or non-black families to share this value and story of Kwanzaa, to celebrate, to practice, to keep these traditions alive. This is our culture. This is our legacy. Okay. I know I got to get my Kinara. Am I pronouncing it right?
Yep.
Kinara?
Hmm.
Okay. I need to get my Kinara and have it. My children are going to know what Kwanzaa is. Okay, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that.
Very good. Yeah. The Kinara can be difficult to find. You may have to order it online. You can make it,
Amazon has
or
everything.
you can make it. That could be a Kwanzaa project. The family can buy, some thin pieces of wood and cut the holes for the 7 candles and make it. I
Yes.
also have a little trouble finding the black candle. It's easy to find the red ones and the green ones during the Christmas season, but the black one is a little tougher to find. Each night
uh,
you have to light a candle, so you got to have your candles and your kinara.
all right. Ooh, that's a great idea for any black business owners that do candle making. We
Yes.
need our Kwanzaa candles. Okay, so just throwing that out there. The black ones are hard to find, and
Yes,
canards
they
are hard
are.
to find.
Yes. I
But
think there was a shop up in Federal Way in the Commons. There was an African American shop in there where you could usually find all kinds of West African uh, art and
yeah,
jewelry. So
yeah.
I you could check there, but it may be a little late to order online unless you're ordering for next year's Kwanzaa.
Yeah, we'll have to plan for next year. But alrighty, guys, moving right along. Connecting the Kanara and the green, the economics, right, is so
Yes.
important when we talk about community. It's so important when we talk about wealth building, right, and generational wealth. So we have Dr. John Gaines here with us today. This man is an exceptional man. Seriously. There he is. Look at Dr. Gaines.
There he is.
Dr. Gaines, how old are you?
I'm
Oh,
33.
33. Okay. I was gonna guess younger. I mean, it's just like you amaze me with all of the titles. Please tell us a little bit about where you're from, and a little bit just about your academic background.
Of course, I'm from Tacoma, Washington, born and raised from the hilltop. My family grew up on 8th and Cushman, in the
Okay.
original hilltop. So I just want to add that.
Okay.
Went to Bryant Elementary, which is
Mhm.
the best elementary school in Tacoma, in my opinion. And then, from middle school to high school, I went to Bellarmine Prep. Uh, Went to Eastern Washington, and wanted to play football there, but just had some issues with the coach, and so decided to transfer. Ended up at a junior college, and from there got a scholarship to play football down in Oklahoma. During that same time, received a couple of academic scholarships from the Casey Family Foundation. And
Okay.
once I graduated from college, it was either law school or master's in business, and I chose law school. So prepped for the LSAT, took the LSAT, got accepted into law school. I had an internship in DC, and then just realized up to that point that it wasn't for me. I desired it for all the wrong reasons, and it didn't really uh, resonate with me any longer. And so I decided to pursue my master's in business, and then on to my doctorate in business.
Yeah.
well, look, may I just say that you figured it out while you were still in law school. Some people get all the way through law school, practice law for years, and then say, oh no, this is not how I want to live the rest of my life. And so, uh, what made you transition from law school directly to the MBA program, though? Why not just take a complete break?
So I actually took a year off, and I won this internship. It was a legal internship on Capitol Hill. So the goal was to take a year off from school completely. And during this internship that I had, working with lawyers and being exposed to lawyers, a lot of phone calls back and forth while I was back home in Tacoma. Then I finally moved out there. I was there for 1 week. And as I'm a man of faith, and as just through prayer, uh, the CEO of this firm that I was working for ended up getting extremely sick, and he passed away after a week of me being
Mm,
there. And I took that as a sign that it just wasn't the place for me. He was like my champion, the person that believed in me. And although I could have navigated and learned the systems and built the relationships myself, he was one of the main reasons why I went to Capitol Hill. So I moved back home, and I thought in my mind, I'm still going to, go to law school, but I'll pursue Seattle U or UW. And then through that process of just working in my community, being in my community, working with youth, going to the Boys and Girls Club, seeing all the youth, and being in my old neighborhood, I realized that I can make more of an impact uh, doing something else. And so I decided not to pursue law school.
Yeah, a lot of people would rather be helping their community, be involved in their passion, and be able to make a living out of it than work in corporate America. But they're stuck in corporate America, because it pays the bills,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like that for a lot of families, in our community, right? We need the security that we won't take that risk and step out on faith, right? I did that about a year ago, and that was the hardest thing to do in my life. Like
Yeah.
to quit my W-2 9 to 5 job where I knew how much I was gonna be making, you know. So what was it? I mean, how did you get the courage? Did you need a platform? Was it a champion, a mentor that could really help you cross that bridge? How can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. Mentorship has been so important to me. Growing up on the hilltop, I was orphaned by the age of 7. Found my mother dead at 7. My father wasn't in my life,
mm,
but I remember one conversation from the time I was 7 with the first grade teacher. She looked at me with tears in her eyes and she said, "John, I believe in you." And in that moment, I began to, my mind began to change. And I believe that anyone can become anything that they're destined to be by simply just renewing their mind. And I learned the power of that at
Mm,
such an early age. Like my life didn't get automatically better. It's hard for any young person to navigate through that trauma. But I began to shift my mind. I truly believe once you change your mind, your circumstances will begin to change. And so that's something that's always stuck with me. It shaped, I believe, our attitude kind of shapes our behaviors. And so it shaped my attitude, it shaped my behaviors, it shaped my actions. And it's something I believe in until this day. Start every day with a great thought. And that has helped me find success and just remind me of my why in any arena in any arena that I am in. And so when I went to corporate America, to the Boeing company, I received all these accolades. I was climbing that corporate ladder. They sent me to Wall Street, to the New York Stock Exchange, to ring the opening bell. And I thought from that point, like, this is going to be my job. And so when I started to pursue my doctorate in business, it was with the goal to be the president of that company one day. And after about 2 or 3 years, they needed someone. And this was when I kind of suppressed my true passion to speak to the community. After about 2 or 3 years, I had a manager pull me to the side and said, "John, we need someone to talk to staff internally about the importance of community and why it's important to give back to community." And I said, that's not something I really want to do. So I was kind of voluntold. It was kind of forced on me. I really
Oh,
fought it. I kind of fought it. It had been years since I kind of shared some of my story. And I'll never forget the first time I shared my story inside that company and seeing some of the looks on some of these executives' faces, working my way all the way up to the vice president of the company and his staff, where it was supposed to be just a couple of staff meetings. Ended up speaking to almost at every staff meeting inside that company. And I remember thinking, if I could have an impact here in corporate America by just simply sharing my story, right? Maya Angelou said, "There's no greater agony than bearing an untold story inside of you." So although I was finding success in corporate America, there was still so much pain that I was trying to keep on the inside because I wasn't living out my calling to share my story. And when I started sharing my story, I started walking in my purpose. And when I started walking in my purpose, I realized that there was so much more. And so the quit didn't happen right away. But after 6 years, I decided to walk away from corporate and pursue other things and just be in my community and serve my community. So
well, John, first of all, I think I heard you speak when you were still in high school. And it seems like it was just yesterday. So when I was reading that you were defending your PhD, I said, wait a minute, he was just in high school like a minute ago. It just seems like warp speed. But Anjanae and I attended the Poverty to Possibilities event that United Way produces each year. And one of the things we heard about is, of course, adverse childhood experiences like the traumatic moment when you found your mother deceased. So sad. But Dr. Wendy Ellis also talked about a different type of adverse experience, and it's called adverse community experiences. Two types of ACEs. Your childhood score would have been off the charts as far as how that system judges your chances for success. And then you grew up in a community experience that was not necessarily the most positive and uplifting. What is your secret? I know you've said you're a man of faith. If you are a young person growing up now, whether in the hilltop or other places, what is your secret for overcoming that double aces hit that some young people have to deal with?
yeah, of course. I remember before I completed my doctorate, I was required to take the ACE
Mm-hmm.
test. And at
Mm-hmm.
that same time, I was serving on the board at the rescue mission. And they associate a lot of things that they experience and the people they serve with ACEs. I had no idea what it was. They talked about how it correlates with homelessness and obesity and mental
Mm-hmm.
illness and all these different things. I scored a 10 on that test. And I remember like crying my eyes out after my results and seeing what statistics said I should be. Like I never
Right.
knew that I was born with crack cocaine in my system. I didn't know that until I became a man, until I developed a relationship with my father in my 20s. I never knew that having a speech impediment wasn't normal. I never knew like
Mm.
my situation wasn't normal. And so therefore my circumstance and the issues that I faced never shaped my mind. And so my secret is not a secret. It really starts with my faith. I believe in renewing your mind. That just comes from the
Mm.
Bible that I read.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um, and then second is one, believing in yourself, but find people that also believe in you, right? I remember I had a mentor tell me, show me your friends and I will show you your future, right? Life is all about association, right? Do you have confidence in yourself, and do you have a positive self-image? And then are you hanging out with people who have enough confidence in themselves to compliment you and pull the
Mm-hmm.
greatness out of you? And so those were like the three things that have really helped me. Nothing special, just my faith, just belief in myself, and then having others around me that believed in me, my peers and mentors and mentees.
Yes.
Yeah, the mentees will push you. The mentees will hold you accountable and make sure
Yes,
you don't
they do.
stop.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
Yeah, but I mean, mindset, our mind is seriously our strongest muscle. I mean, it all begins there. Once we start believing in ourselves, and you don't, I mean, yeah, you need support, but a lot of times it doesn't start, you don't always have people around you, right? There might be someone watching this podcast that doesn't have a friend circle that maybe, has conversations like us here on the podcast, right? But they believe in themselves. They're centering themselves around other people, right? They're learning, they're reading more. I mean, that's really where it starts. We can self teach or educate,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
Um, and grow. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Your
And
story.
what are you doing right now? I know last I read you were with the city of Tacoma. Tell us a little bit about your work there,
Yeah, of course. I want to share a little bit about how I got there. And so I quit my job
please.
because it's a lot about like my why, right? So I quit my job in corporate America, and I was maybe a couple of days away from signing a contract with an agency to speak across the nation. But for me, I realized at that point that my why was to be the best husband that I could be and to be the best father that I could be. And shortly before that, my wife informed me that she was pregnant. And so I realized I don't want to be stuck pursuing a dream if I am absent from my family, if my
Mm-hmm.
family becomes secondary to the dream. And so for me, I worked my whole life. And you said you saw me in high school at some point. I literally worked so many years to get signed by an agency, only to tell them that it wasn't for me. And then what I believe in mentorship, I wrote my doctorate, my dissertation on mentorship. I called some of my mentors and shared just my heart with them. And through that process, the city of Tacoma through TPU actually created a job for me. But my only condition, right? I went to them with I was more confident in myself. And so I went to them and said, this is who I am. Like I got to a point at the Boeing company to where I had to hide who I was. I had to suppress who I was. I said, I have an LLC, I have a nonprofit, and this is what I love to do. Like I can help community relations at the city if I'm allowed to still do my thing, right? And so they created this job, wrote out the job description, was back and forth. I agreed to it, and now I'm the first ever community relations manager for TPU. It's allowed me to be home, and I've been there for probably 2.5 years, and just be with my family. And the good thing is the story always ends well. In March, right before the pandemic hit, I
Right.
I signed with a different agency, and that agency bought out the original agency that wanted to sign me 3 years ago. So now I'm able to just be in my community on my own terms, which is awesome.
And be
Wow.
that good husband, that good father, because the way we started the show tonight was with a nod to, of course, the holy days of Hanukkah and of Christmas, depending on your faith, and also the cultural holidays of Kwanzaa that begin December 26th, and how important it is to have that legacy, that connection to origin. Your experience as a child may very well inform why it's so important for you to stay connected and present and available to your own children and your own family. So, in some ways, negative or traumatic things that have happened to us almost have a rebound effect because we try to course correct for the
Hmm.
next generation coming up, right? If mama did X, then, well, maybe I need to do Y as a course correction for things that happened that maybe were difficult for us. I'm wondering, yeah, go ahead, Anjane.
Yeah, Carol, it's the counter narrative, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
everyone talks about a generational curse. Well, if my parents are whatever, then I'm
Mm-hmm.
gonna go down that route, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. I mean, here you are a product. You are not a product of your environment. You are not a product of your circumstance, right? You outgrew because you had community support, you had mentorship, and you had a determined mind. Really, that's why you did not just stay where you were at. You could have stayed in the hilltop. You could have went down that path. I'm sure there was time. I mean, you did stay in the hilltop, but
Yep.
the hilltop looks a little different now, I guess.
Yep.
But my point being, you do not have to be where you came from, right? People, we are by there's system on top of system on top of system to oppress us, to keep us where we are as Black people, right? But with
Yeah.
with our determined minds, with our genius, our brilliance, our determination, right, we can overcome any challenge. I think that's so powerful for all of our viewers to really hear, because we know Black people are the mass incarcerated, right? But that doesn't
Mm-hmm.
mean because your relatives or your parents, that doesn't mean that you're going to have to go down that path. We know that Black people, for generations, did not have access to higher education, right? But that doesn't mean that you won't be, the next person cannot be a pioneer in their family and change the whole course around,
That's right.
right?
Absolutely.
I do like the fact that you kept referring to the renewing of the mind, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember that scripture that you can be transformed by renewing your mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that transformation is part of the legacy that you're giving to your children now. The transformation that took place in you through faith, that now is in the blood, right? That's those
Yes.
red candles that we'll be burning
Yeah.
during Kwanzaa. That
Yep.
changing of the bloodline that happened from your mother to you. But your mother's DNA, there may have been something in there that,
Mm-hmm.
had she had a different set of circumstances, her purpose could have been fulfilled as well.
Exactly.
Sometimes we only know the negative story, but we don't know, what was underneath that might have been different for the people who came before us.
Yes.
I do know that you and Anjane were going to talk a little bit about wealth building. Did I hear you
Mm-hmm.
say that, Anjane, as you were getting
Yeah,
ready?
in the spirit of Christmas, I think it's only right that we talk about giving, we talk about wealth, right? Um, we were speaking a little bit about, how you stepped away from your, private job, right? Your corporate America job, and into more of your business role. Now, that's your passion, and you step out on your passion, but you also stepped out on your business. Now, with your business, do you feel like you maybe receive a little bit more respect? You were mentioning earlier that in corporate America, you really couldn't be who you wanted to be, right? You were starting to suppress your own identity. So now that you have your own business, is that something that you still face, or?
Yeah, not at all. I think for me in corporate, I realized that I was working so hard to build someone else's dream. And I
Mm,
Mhm.
don't want to take away from like corporate America or what people do in their job or for their job, right? Because sometimes you just have to do with what you're given, right? But for me, I realized that um, I had a gift, and it's all about gifting and finding your gift. And with your gift, I believe you find your purpose. So I found those gifts, and there wasn't a place for me in corporate America. And so
Mm.
now it's simple, right? I know my gifts and I know my purpose, and my purpose now is to find a way to spend time with my family, more time, right? And so for me, how do I create things? And I always find a solution with that. When I connect my wife to it, to spend more time with my family, because I want to be the best husband, the best father, because that allows me to be the best version of myself. And if I'm the best version of
Mm.
myself, I give my best self to my family and to my community, right? I don't want to be the best entrepreneur. I don't want to be the best motivational speaker. I just want to be the best motivator to me. I want to be the best version of myself. And so by doing that, it allows me to give back to the community. And I always think, how can I give back to the community? How can I be the best version of myself? How can I be the best version for my wife and child? And then I have all
Mm.
these unique ideas, whether that be something we have a little bit of real estate. the side hustles, the programs, and these different things going on, because those are things that allow me to make money while I'm sleeping. And if I can make money while I sleep,
Mhm.
I can spend more time with my family. So it's really just birth in that.
Well, I'm a real estate agent. We can talk passive income all day, investments all day, but I love it. I mean, this is not only something that you're doing now, but something that you can pass on. And that is in itself wealth, knowledge. Wealth isn't always money, right? So
Mm-mm.
That's
yeah,
right.
what was that, Carol?
That's right.
Absolutely.
That
Yep.
legacy we're talking about is also the legacy of one's example, one's
Yes.
knowledge, one's experience. All of those things have value. And just as Dr. Lawrence White would call it, the ministry of being present. The fact that
Mm.
you are just present
Hmm.
for your children, present for your community, available to them so that they can see you and feel you and watch your example. That too
Yes.
has value. I
Yes.
do
Yeah.
I do want to mention the fact that perhaps next week we will talk more about the 110 initiative, which John, you may know a little more about or something about. It's basically an agreement by 37 corporate CEOs that they are going to hire 1 million people of Black African descent in the next 10 years. And guess what? No degree required.
Wow.
Yeah.
So we'll
Wow.
talk more about that. That seems to be the corporate world trying to sort of reinvent itself, course correct,
Hmm.
maybe deal with centuries of inequity, of hiring decisions that were discriminatory. They're trying to course correct
Yeah.
at the very top. So the CEOs are all signing on. I think Nike is one of the big names here in the Pacific Northwest. And we saw a Washington state version of it. We posted that on the Institute
Hmm.
for Black Justice's Facebook page, and people can see the study. The statistics are pretty predictable. They are
Hmm.
what
Right.
you would expect in terms of Black unemployment, but it seems as if
Right.
the corporate world's trying to course correct.
And
Uh,
but Carol, I mean, as that sounds marvelous, it
it
does.
does.
I'm gonna just add some spice to this conversation and say that we need to still hold pressure on states, budgets to fund nonprofit work because that
Hmm.
was part of this conversation, right?
Hmm.
Our identity is suppressed when we go and work in a white structure such as corporate America, right? And so why would we want, that's not the life that we want to live. We want to be with
Hmm.
our families, right? John wants to be with his family. I would want to be with my family if I had a husband and a child. So let's make sure that there's still that part of the conversation.
Oh,
And it's
yes.
not
Absolutely.
and it's not just one. Okay. I don't need one person without a high school diploma. I mean without a college degree, because the issue is gonna it trails back way further than high school,
Well,
way
it's 1 million in 10
1 million.
years.
And
1 million in 10
Mm.
years.
and
That's what
how
they've
I
committed
just
to.
want to know what those numbers look like. I mean,
I
when you
know.
break
We
it
got to
down,
watch it. I think we got to
we
Yeah.
pay attention to that
this
and
is
see
going to
what's
be a
happening.
hot topic. But thank you
True.
so much, Dr. Gaines. We really do appreciate you coming on the Black Robe podcast. Your story is inspirational. I hope for all of our viewers that were listening to our podcast on this Christmas Eve really heard a couple strong key points. One being your mindset. It's all about your belief system. Believe in
Hmm.
yourself. You can do anything that you set your mind to. The other
Absolutely.
was mentorship, right? And really having that support and have that platform. So for those that are, of the older seasoned generation, for you guys watching, please reach out to our young, eager Black people because we're here, we're hungry, right? John, thank you again. Where can people find you? Where can people, connect with you?
Yep. So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, because the young people said
Oh,
you need a TikTok, but it's just all it's Push Gang. So
push game.
PUSH. That's my organization. Push Gangs. My last name GAINES. If you Google that or put it into any social media platform, you'll be able to find me.
Push
Awesome.
gains. I love it. Well,
Love it. We'll keep pushing, Mr. Gaines.
yes.
All right, you
Thank you,
guys.
John.
See ya.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Well,
Oh, that was moving. I was moved. I was inspired. I hope people listening were inspired because I mean, Dr. Gaines is a little bit older than me, and so just a little bit, not by much. We're not gonna throw. I mean, he's 33. I'm 24. Whatever. He went straight through. Got all of his degrees. I feel like a sucker because I bailed out after college, but now
no,
I am energized, and I'm like, wow, I mean, it's so inspiring, to hear someone just keep pushing. It's a grind, anytime I hear somebody with masters or a JD, a PhD, any sort ED, I'm like, wow, because I know what it is. I know what it's like to hustle, to pay your bills, and to go to school. So I'm
yes.
inspired by that. I'm inspired that he took that leap of faith. He left his corporate job that was not failing him. He was on the upward ladder, and he took the step towards his passion, and that's kind of the transitional moment that I'm in right now, right? Like, just moving from corporate now with real estate and now with the IBJ, it's all passion, but
Yes.
it's so rewarding, and I want to see more young black people like us making that leap, doing what matters to you, right? I think that's a great transition to. Sorry, I know you want to say something, but I just got to plug the symposium.
Yes. Go
Just gotta
ahead.
plug the symposium
Plug
because
it.
I'm just, man, I'm so excited. I'm boiling with excitement right now because the symposium is exactly, we're going to help you make that transition. We're going to give you the tools so that if you want to make that transition, right now, how to write a grant, a successful grant, so that you can do something that you're passionate about, right? We're going to give you the confidence. I would love, to have some speakers, if Dr. Gaines or other motivational speakers could be there to give our young people the confidence. He stepped out and had a job created for him.
Isn't that
Okay.
exciting? And really, when you are stepping into your purpose, your gift makes room for you that way. You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to. I mean, you do have to at least put your name in the hat so people
Yeah.
know that you're available and have talent. So he took some steps, but when you're standing in the purpose for which you were born, nobody else can hold that spot. And your gift sort of creates space in there for you. I will say this, that a career is not a straight line. A lot of people think that you just go from high school to college to graduate school to the corporate world to this, to this, to that. And that's not how it works at all. It's a up, a back, a over, right? And the beautiful thing about it is if you let go of that linear view of how a career is supposed to be, and just enjoy the experiences that you're gathering. Every time he made a change in direction, he gathered some new experiences that are going to serve him further down the road. There's no bad move that's being made because all of it is experience and you'll be able to leverage it. Your work in real estate, your work in the legislature, supporting one of our state representatives, your work with IBJ, you're gathering more experience, more knowledge, more exposure, and all of that is moving you forward. And eventually, that perfect combination of career experience, whatever that perfect thing is for you, you'll be ready for it when it shows up, when
Yeah.
your gift creates that room, that space specifically for Anjanae, you'll be ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Okay. Yes, I'm ready.
It's like, hurry up, do it right now.
All right, but it's God's timing. It's on God's timing, and who knows that, like you said, it's not linear, and
Mm-mm.
walking out on your purpose might bring you back full circle to get to your destination, but just through a route that you didn't think you were gonna take.
Right. Don't worry about that, and don't let people impose arbitrary timelines on, like, oh my God, you're 24 and you don't have your PhD yet.
I
Well,
know.
so what?
I know.
You
Tell
have
my
your whole lifetime. I tell people all the time, I was 31 when I finished my bachelor's and 36 when I finished my JD and 40 when I finished my master's. I didn't even go in the right order, but who cares?
Yeah.
Because once you finish, nobody asks you what order you did it in or how old were you when you got your bachelor's. Nobody asks those questions. So
Mhm.
don't worry about fitting in some arbitrary timeline. Enjoy your life, go with it. If the universe says it's time for you to move left and you thought you were going right, hey, we had a pandemic happen that moved a whole bunch of folks to the left who thought
Yes.
they were going right. Some of them lost their houses. It's not funny, but it's time for a shift to happen, you sometimes cannot control it. And so you might as well accept the fact that there is something happening in this experience that must happen in order for me to be better prepared when my gift makes room for me.
I love that. Well, you
That's a
guys heard it.
Kwanzaa story right there. That's
Yes.
my gift, my Kwanzaa gift to you. I just created that all by myself.
You did, and you wrapped it so beautifully. Well, you guys heard it from the founder of the IBJ herself. Okay, and we all know that that journey, right, has been
Ooh.
it's
Mm.
been a new one. But we gotta wrap this show up, Carol,
Yes, we
so
do.
people can get some sleep and open those gifts in the
And
morning.
open gifts on Christmas Day, and then be prepared to light your Kinara candle on December 26th. I do want to say, Anjane, I have a big surprise for you coming up, and it has to do with a keynote speaker that we're trying to get for the Freedom Summer Symposium.
Mm.
I have to keep it a secret even from you because I
What?
know you like surprises, but we have a nationally known person who will appeal to the 18 to 35 crowd in ways you cannot imagine.
Oh,
I'm just prayerful that the dates and times will work, and our budget will work, and be able to get him here. I'll give you that hint. So more to come on that. But June 28, 29, 30 of 2021 Freedom Summer Symposium. Put it on your calendar.
yes. Well, that's it, guys. Stay tuned for our next episode next Thursday, 6 p.m. It's the Black Robe Podcast. And again, it's Anjane Slaughter here.
Good night.
Good night.